All right. Well, it's Ask a Rabbi Wednesday again, I guess. Um, I figured that today's May the 4th. I know it's also the yard side of the Berach Moshe and Yehoshua Ben Nun, and we'll hopefully make a special video about that later. On my way home from work, I plan to stop in Kiryas Yoel and make the pilgrimage there to the Tzion, and perhaps while I'm waiting out there, I might. While I'm there, I probably won't be making videos in the Tzion because it's just a little disrespectful. But I do plan to, Mirz Hashem, make some little video to discuss, the godless of the Berach Moshe on his yard site and my personal memories of him as 10 years ago. But putting that aside for now, especially, I think I would find myself very depressed if I didn't have a little bit of fun after what happened yesterday with Ted Cruz dropping out of the race, which is just a tremendous disappointment to me. I figured today, just to cheer myself up, Menachem Breslover said sometimes you need mishagas, even nourish things, just some silly things, just to bring a little simcha to get out of depression, because depression and sadness are very, very, very damaging. And so today is the 4th of May the 4th, right? So a lot of folks, especially on YouTube here, May the 4th, they talk, May the 4th be with you. That, my mother's maiden name is Schwartz, and my grandmother, she should be well. She always said that one of her doctors, so may the Schwartz be with you. All right. Should be well. And anyway, the whole idea with Star Wars, some folks asked, I remember when I taught in the Hebrew school, what kind of Jewish lessons and things can we find in Star Wars? And and there have been articles written about this, and especially the latest film, The Force Awakens, was made by J.J. Abrams, who himself is Jewish. And there are all kinds of things folks have looked at, like, for example, Darth Vader on his chest. There's actually Hebrew letters, and there have been different discussions with whether that's Birkas Kahanim, priestly blessing, or it's just gibberish, or what it is. And there have been different discussions about that. And the character of Yoda, who seems to be, to a lot of folks, like a Rebbe figure, was Obi-Wan Kenobi as well, in the original trilogy as well, and different things, and just the name itself, meaning it comes from, some people posit perhaps it comes from the Hebrew, like Yoda means to know, Yodea, or some people think Yehuda, like Judah. Yoda seems to be pretty apt. Although there are other theories, there were many different cultures that Lucas drew on in his original 6 movies with the names and certain things, and in the new film, and looking forward to the next ones, also similar things. But one thing that I found interesting, and might be controversial, and might be misunderstood also, so I have to be careful the way I say it, but the whole idea between the Force and the dark side, of the Force, and generally we don't hear them say the light side of the Force, but I don't remember it. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I know some people use the term the light side and the dark side. I don't remember it though, that they ever said the light side, but they talked about the dark side, and how they're really two sides of the same coin, which also can be compared to other traditions, to Taoism with the yin and the yang and so forth. But this last film that they made, I really feel, especially with a Jewish director, J.J. Abrams, and there's definitely a lot of secular Jews, not as religiously inclined, but they do focus on the history of the Jewish people and the persecutions and so forth that Jews have suffered throughout the centuries. since the destruction of the temple, and even beforehand, or during the exile in Babylonia, and even throughout our history, even in the Holy Land throughout history. And this particular film, to me personally, it struck me that opening scene, and a spoiler alert for the folks who didn't see it. By the way, if anyone didn't see Empire Strikes Back, spoiler alert: Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Sorry if you didn't. But anyway, this last movie that came out earlier this year, the opening sequence really, it struck me like a pogrom, that they come in and then they have the character that Max von Sydow played, and that's very significant. Here's a man who was in the Seventh Seal, playing chess with death, and he was himself was a crusader, but who was reflecting on what he went through, and there could be some significance to that too, which we might get to. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, I'm just theorizing. And then he goes on, this character that Max von Sydow plays is called Lor San Tekka, even though he's not named that in the film, but we see that in the credits. He, in certain, I think, earlier drafts of the script, he was called the vicar, that this was a clergy figure, that he's supposed to be a member of the clergy of the Church of the Forest, meaning he's not a Jedi, but he's striving to the ideals of the Jedi, which is a very fascinating idea to me. But it's kind of recognizing that there were things that were lost, very similar, to what we have in Judaism after the destruction of the temple, but we continued on of how Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Tein li Yavna v'chachameha, give me Yavna and her sages, that, to show that Judaism does have a potential to exist outside of just a building and the land, but it's a portable religion, which it always was. A lot of folks say, well, it was a change that rabbinical Judaism brought about by. It's not really true. The rabbinical Judaism is the original Judaism, but it certainly is carrying on those messages in a somewhat muted form compared to what was before, but that was due to the problems of the corruption that took place in the temple with the priests, mostly with the Sadducee priests. So we see very similar, but then he comes in and he's looking for this, the Adam Driver, he's looking for Kylo Ren, and even how Lor San Tekka says, I know you and I know your family, and I knew who you were before you took the name Kylo Ren. And all of these ideas, and then how when he doesn't have what he's looking for, he just destroys the whole village. He literally makes a pogrom. And this idea of bringing balance to the Force, this general theme that's throughout Star Wars, and how the light and the dark are really two different sides of the same thing, and also how they're manipulated by governmental forces that are not in tune, they're not force sensitive. You see, the, what do they call it, the First Order? I don't remember. And the obvious Nazi imagery that you have, particularly in this last movie, and how that the admiral or the general from the First Order is so obviously, giving like a Hitler-esque harangue. But he's not really, he isn't the embodiment of the dark side of the Force. He's not in tune with the Force. He has nothing to do with the Force, but he's using this. And even what Han Solo said, how Snoke is using you, and to Kylo Ren, and all these things, and all these different ideas. I don't know. I can see a comparison, and even how the church came out of Judaism also at that same time, when Judaism was able to embrace its essential, universal, and portable nature after the destruction of the temple, and how at the same time Christianity was also bringing out that same idea of the portable, universal nature